Hey everyone, Social Solipsist here, and this is a video that I've been meaning to make for a little while, but I am glad that I've held off on it a little bit. As you know, I've been playing Overwatch. I put up that video less than 2 weeks ago, and I've only been playing for about 2 weeks, but I am level 45 because I'm a crazy person and play it way too much. And originally this was going to be a video about the problems that I have with Bastion, and I'm sure if you play the game, you're familiar with the character and probably have your own opinions, and the internet has a lot of strong opinions regarding Bastion. It then evolved more into an issue with a combination of Bastion, Torbjorn, and Soldier 76. And now it's moved on to something a little more comprehensive and technical. So I'm hoping you'll stick with me for a few minutes here to talk about some of the technical aspects of the game. So let's go ahead and get started. So basically, I've been looking into this a little bit, and there are some, I don't want to say major issues with the game. Let me put this all into perspective. I still really enjoy this game. Clearly, you know me, I wouldn't be playing this anymore if I didn't think that it was pretty darn solid and a lot of fun. But Blizzard has made some significant, if somewhat hidden, decisions within the game mechanics and their server setup that are severely detrimental not only to quality of life in the game, but potentially to Blizzard's potential to have this as a real esport out there. So I guess let's get into the technical aspects a little bit. So first and foremost, there's some very interesting issues with hitboxes, and some of them are very understandable and understandable decisions as far as design goes. But basically, it's summed up as both projectile weapons that actually have like a physical item that hits you, and I forget what the term is now. I'll put it on screen. The regular sort of non-projectile just hit scan. That's what it is. Hit scan weapons both do not. They have very wide hitboxes, and projectile weapons have even larger hitboxes. So if you're familiar with getting sniped by a Hanzo you really don't think should have hit you, that may be why. The hitboxes are fairly large. In fact, in many cases, you can get hit in the head by a projectile weapon if they hit the space a full head above where your head is. Yeah, there's that. The hitboxes have a lot of leeway on them, and like I said, there's an understandable design element here where this is a very quick game. Like, the actual gameplay is quite speedy. So trying to get really precise hits on what can often be very small hitboxes, if you were to put it directly on the character, there are some understandable things here. But this combined with what I'm about to talk about in a minute kind of adds up to a larger problem. And just by itself, the large hitboxes are kind of a problem, especially when it comes to characters like Bastion, where they can put either a large amount of bullets downfield or a large AoE effect downfield, very in a quick fashion, potentially hitting a hitbox that in a more precision shooter they would definitely not hit, which can often cause what might be considered frustrating deaths, where you really don't think that you should have died. But the thing that exacerbates this is actually a server-side choice that Blizzard made that also has some reasonable explanations for it, although they haven't explained their actual reasoning, but I can imagine why. And they are running on what would be referred to as 20-tick servers, basically, which basically means that the server refreshes people's locations and item locations at 20.8 hertz, which basically, in layman's terms, how often does the server take into account that something has moved? And so what that means is even if your game is running at 60 frames a second, only once every 3 frames does the server actually take into account how much something has moved. Now, in theory, this may not sound like a lot, but to put that in perspective, 20 tick is incredibly low. And from the perspective of competitive gamers, which I am not. Don't get it twisted. I am not a competitive gamer, but from a competitive gamer's perspective, that is absolutely unacceptable. By comparison, Counter-Strike, at least Counter-Strike Go and possibly some of the older ones as well, are 64 tick servers. And I know for many of the tournaments and in custom games, they are able to make 128 tick servers. Basically means 128, refreshes by the server of locations every time. And what that equals out to is more precision as far as calculating when somebody hit someone. And I'm not going to be able to articulate this as well as the videos that I was looking at that really explain it very well. So I'll put those in the description. But basically, what it ends up being is the server is less precise in determining the location of someone, and has to take into account potentially multiple shots that hit on the same or a relative variation of the same point. And even if the character may have on screen been in 3 different places at those 3 different times, it only counts it as one location, since presumably most people are running at 60 frames a second and the server effectively is running at 20. So when you combine this with the large hitboxes, what you end up getting is more or less everybody's shots are fairly imprecise at the end of the day. And it means that especially for a character like Bastion, if they can throw a lot of damage downfield in a relatively small area or in a large enough area as far as AoE like Pharah or Junkrat, that they can hit where in a more precise game they would not. And there's always, there can easily be a lot of debate as to, how this could be fixed. In a perfect world, competitive players would probably like to have the highest tick servers possible, and precise hitboxes and all of that. Although, like I said, there has to be some leeway in the hitboxes. And from the server perspective, just running a 64 tick server or whatever, every refresh that there is for the server not only takes more server power, more horsepower from the server, but also more networking bandwidth and all that good stuff. So from a perspective of, just Blizzard's side of running the servers, it's somewhat understandable. However, that argument is somewhat counteracted by the fact that even Team Fortress 2, which I think has always been $20 and then it went free, that has always been 64 tick, as far as I am aware. You may be able to correct me on that, but as far as I could find in my research, that's always been the case. So actual cost of operation, questionable as an actual motivator, even with as many people are playing as they are. And I believe current counts are somewhere between, it's over 10 million people playing, probably more. That was the report a few days ago. So as far as making this into an esport, it doesn't really bode well if these are the firm choices that Blizzard has made, because these are not only going to hurt them in as far as making it a good esport environment to have, but also just general quality of life. If people are playing in competitive or even just in quick games and they're experiencing frustration from dying when they really don't think they should have, then that's going to do a disservice to the game. Even now, I'm not super serious about any sort of game, but certainly for this, where I'm just jumping in and playing with friends. But even so, at least once for every hour, one time in every hour of play, often more, I die when I really don't think I should have. And it's not me being arrogant and thinking I'm great. You watch the replay and the things don't line up. The hitboxes are so off, by the way, and you'll see in the videos in the links below that you can shoot people that you cannot see that are around a corner. And that you'll see that in playbacks, and it's a little rough. And knowing that it could be your fault, but it may not be your fault depending on the case. No, those quality of life issues could really drag the game down. I do want to talk for a few minutes about Torbjorn, Bastion, and Soldier 76. Not because of what you may think, which largely the community and the internet as a whole has really written off Bastion as being a crappy character. I'm actually going to class the three that I mentioned sort of together in that they're not bad, they're just boring. They're not interesting and they're not fun. Neither really to play or to be played against. Soldier 76 mainly because his design is incredibly boring. He is Call of Duty man. He has a sprint, a grenade, underslung grenade launcher, and a rifle. It's the most generic possible thing that they could have designed. And I understand why. They want to put something in there for people who may be just getting into Overwatch or more arcadey type shooters like this, and who may be more used to Call of Duty or something like that, and may need a transitionary character or something like that. But he is one of the most boring characters I've ever seen, which is made even more clear by this week's special battles that are going on, which are this week's specialty battle is all Soldier 76 versus one another, a 6-on-6 Soldier 76 only. As far as Bastion goes, when you take into account all of the things that I've mentioned just now about the servers and the hitboxes, his ability to throw as much damage downfield with the level of precision that he can very quickly, combined with his ability to heal, his fairly high health pool, and the fact that when he's in his secondary mode where he can do this, he has no head to get a headshot on, can make him very frustrating to play against, and not a whole lot of fun. And as many of the players have seen, he will quite consistently get play of the game purely because it is very easy for him to set up around a corner and just lay people flat as they turn the corner, just putting so much damage down at literally pretty much any range he wants, that he can kill them before they notice. Generally, the counter to a Bastion is a very there are some pretty hard counters to Bastion, but you have to be aware that he's there first. You have to be aware of his location, and that can get pretty frustrating. Again, because I view Overwatch as a fairly arcadey shooter that is less about the actual gun combat and more about the synergy between the various abilities that the characters have and their really unique designs. I also think that he's fairly uninventive and not very fun as far as character design wise, but I still think that character design wise he's more interesting and better than Soldier 76, if more frustrating to play against. And then there's Torbjorn, who you can't help but compare. If you ever played TF2, you can't help but compare to the Engineer because he's similar, very, very similar in a whole lot of ways. And unfortunately, he has not been refined in the same way that the the engineer in TF2 has, specifically in the fact that his turrets are hyper powerful compared to the turrets in from the engineer in TF2. They have incredible precision at range. They are incredibly quick to detect and turn to shoot. And it's not that they're entirely unfair. Again, there are a decent number of fairly hard counters to deal with him, but he's just not very fun to fight against. Again, subverting really what the game has going for it in the synergy of abilities. And I don't, again, along with the other two, I sort of don't feel like any of these three have earned their place in the ranks of Overwatch. And that sounds more like judgy than I really want it to. But I feel like that's the best way I can put it, that the three of them are not of comparable design as far as their inventiveness and the synergy of their abilities. So all of these things put together, along with the developer update that just came out, I think either yesterday or today, regarding the competitive mode being added back in, that they disabled before full release, that was available in the beta. But this video, this like 15-minute video, addresses almost none of the concerns that I have here, certainly not the characters, but also none of the technical aspects. And I understand that they, from a video, this video, they wanted to keep it light and kind of give a more of a sense of, yes, we're listening to everybody's feedback, and we want to make sure that competitive is in the right place before we put it forward. But if they're going to stick with these enormous hitboxes and the low-tick servers, they are really going to have some pushback, I think, especially as this information gets dispersed more amongst the community. And if competitive League of Legends teams and things are any indicator of the caliber of people that tend to play esports, and no judging here, the people who tend towards esports can often be people who have short tempers as far as the precision of their game, who don't have a lot of willingness to forgive problems with the technical aspects of a game. They want everything to run perfect all the time. And if for any of you who may have followed League or CS or pretty much any esport for any amount of time, may have seen these people sometimes snap quite severely. And so I think that's something that Blizzard really needs to keep in mind, along with all these technical things, and just making sure that not only design-wise, art design and character design-wise, but technical design-wise, that they have everything on point going forward. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this develops with time. I'm certainly not going to stop playing the game, because I still have an immense amount of fun with it, especially when playing with friends. And so yeah, I look forward to see what happens going forward. Depending on what they do, I may come up with more videos to talk about this. We'll see. Thank you guys for putting up with this incredibly long and unpleasant, probably, rant. But I hope you enjoy the discussion anyway. And by all means, please strike up a debate in the comments. And like I said before, check out those the videos that I'm going to put in the link description. They're fairly short, very succinct, and very well put, and they describe some of the technical aspects a lot better than I can. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.